So, namaskar and good evening to all the intellectual educators out here. So, you can see from the screen, today's topic is value education in school. So, one point that I want to clarify here is value means what? Can anybody just tell me what are the value? What does the word value means to us? Yes, can anybody? Before I start the session, I want just you can use the chat box. Just one word. What does yes, moral? Somebody told me. Just yes, definitely. Okay, so that means we all know that when we are talking about values, definitely we talk of the moral value, the ethical value. Actually, that what makes us as an individual, isn't it? So value education, when we begin with value education in school, there are some areas that needs to be discussed first point. You see here, where have we come from? That means we need to relate to our roots, our cultural background, because if we are sticking to our culture, definitely we are a much enriched person. Now, what disturbs our dogmatic slumber? That what does that word means? Dogmatic slumber. It actually means that there is something that is happening within the society that is not of a true value. It is disturbing us. We cannot mentally accept what is happening. So there, the disturbance is created that is disturbing the moral value among the people. So that disturbs us. We need to know that what is something that is happening within the society that is disturbing us. Now, when we are coming to the society, our main and the primary importance is our school. And when we are talking of the school, within the domain, the pedagogical challenges are something that is primary. That is something that is directly related to us, and that is what makes us a successful teacher. Then we'll be discussing what are the nature of values that has to be dealt, the teaching domain, how do we infuse the pedagogy is way of teaching. So in that, how do we inculcate the values that has to be transmitted among the children? Why this is important? Because we all know that today's children are somewhere tomorrow's citizen. So everybody wants a place or a country that is culturally enriched. People have moral values to it. That is the reason it is very important to inculcate these value education according with the academic ones. Now, two-pronged strategies. What are the various strategies we'll be taking? Then what is the cognitive core? See, cognitive, we all know that it deals with the knowledge, the learning that we are. Then underlying the belief system, these are very important. You have to hit the belief system. Then clarifying the core, what is important, we have to clarify that. And then we have to distinguish between the public and the private moral values. See, both are quite different. Now here, where have we come from? That means I want to focus on the roots of every individual. See, if the roots are stronger, we come out as a strong individual, isn't it? And it is the value that describes us, it is the value that depicts us, and it is the value that clarifies the human existence in a much better way. So that is the reason where have we come from. Now you see, when we talk, if we stick to the Indian ethos, we should go back to the days where the Indus Valley civilization days there. Indus Valley civilization existed. So from there, we can connect to each other. After the Indus Valley, I don't want to go detail into the history, but you can correlate. That is where we begin. Our journey as a civilized human being began from the days back from the Indus Valley civilization. Now see, there are many civilizations that are contemporary to each other, Okay, so some you see the Babylonia, the Mesopotamia, the Greek civilization, they're all contemporary. But why am I talking to that? Because those are the roots from where the human civilization existed. And from that very root, the meaning of values came into existence. So that is the reason we have to stick to that. Now, after Indus Valley civilization, can anybody tell me what was the next civilization that came into our country? If we go to the ancient history, after Indus Valley civilization, can anybody just tell me what was the next civilized anybody? Mohenjo-daro, see, Mohenjo-daro, and it is all related to Mesopotamia. They are contemporary and all related to the Harappa, Mesopotamia. They are contemporary. After that, after this, which is the era? Anybody? After this Indus Valley civilization, what was the next civilization that we are well connected to it? Okay, now let me explain. See, after this civilization, yes, the Vedic civilization, yes, definitely. The Vedic civilization is starting from the time with the advent of the Aryans. When Aryans, they came from the Central Asia and they captured the area called Sapta Sindhu. That means it was the zone around the river Satluj. So from that time, we started the Vedic civilization started from there, and we started scripting. The main script that was written there, it was in the post-Vedic period. And the Vedas, that Mahajanapada somebody wrote, but those were villages, Definitely you are relating to that Vedic period. I want to say that, see, the transformation took place, the civilization got a change, the transform, and the values became a different one. Earlier, we were all cultivators, farmers, growing crop. Now, when we went to this Aryan period, the post Indus Valley civilization phase or the Vedic civilization phase, you see the two great epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, when it came into existence, we came to know how a king has to be, isn't it? Now, for example, if we take the example of Lord Ram, he is taken from, if I'm sticking to the Indian history, he is taken to be somebody who was very just, and his values are followed till now, right? So that means what? If we are sticking to the root, we can at least correlate to the moral values. A king, the responsibilities of the king, what was the moral code of conduct among the people, among the citizens of that particular area. Then finally, after that came the Mauryan Empire. Now again, values got little transformed. After the Vedic period, when it was a time for the Mauryan Empire, little changes were there. After Mauryans, they came these Rajput kingdoms, the middle history. Okay. After that, when the slave dynasty started, again the moral value changed. Then came the Mughals, the Turks. Okay. And finally, when the Britishers came, again the values got changed. But it remained, the central core remained untouched. So that is the reason, we should always know from where we came from, our cultural heritage. And since, see, what happened during the British period, we were all demoralized. Why? Because that was the thing, time when we lost our self-identity, and it was the Britishers who that time manipulated, because they had to prove themselves supreme. We forgot that we are the one to invent medicine. We are the one to invent the sexagesimal system, the counting, the literacy, the grammarian, everything, economics. Can you tell me the famous economist during the Mauryan period? We still follow his economic theories. Can anybody? Yes? The famous, yes, Chanakya. Thank you, Manisha. Yes, Chanakya, all so many. Okay, thank you so much. Now see, that means what? It was our cultural heritage. So that is what we need to know. We need to remember, because that is something very basic. So that is the reason this point we should always remember. Even, our home. Leave aside the country, our individual home, the place where we belong to, our native place, from where we have come from, our main culture. Sometimes, we are ashamed to show our culture, but it shouldn't be the reason. Every culture has its own identity, and we should feel strong from within, isn't it? Respect is the word, we should have for others, and we should respect ourselves. So that is the first value that we should be dealing with great importance. The next is what disturbed our dogmatic slumber. So what is disturbing in the society? See, sometime when you open the news channel, you feel very much stressed, right? Because when you see violence, intolerance among the people, yes, peace, definitely we all want peace. If that is disturbed, okay, that is of the country. Can you tell me that when you enter your school, when you are within the domain of your classroom, even then also sometime you get disturbed? Because presently, it is my personal opinion. Yes, somebody said you can't hear me. Am I audible? Yes. So you might have kept your audio off or something like that. Ma'am, you please check that.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, you are
So
audible.
yes, thank you. So now, when you enter your classroom, it's my personal opinion, experience rather, I want to share with you that nowadays, see, I am in this profession for more than 25 years, it has been now. Earlier, when I used to go to my class, I had a different response among my children. Even the way they talk to each other was little different. Now, when I enter my classroom, nowadays, no doubt children have become very smart. Nowadays, we have smart children in our smart classroom, right? But sometimes when I hear them talk among themselves, among the friends, the way they talk to themselves, I know they are all imbibing the American culture, but somewhere it is disturbing. Yes or no? Even it disturbs you also. Because see, this does not match with the disciplinary code within the school as well as the social code. We don't want youngsters to get spoiled in the name of this foreign culture. See, speaking in English, enlightening yourself, getting good from the other cultural goodness, you take it, you inherit them, it is okay. But sometimes in the name of culture, when we misuse these code of conduct, definitely it is disturbing. Now sometimes you see children have become aggressive. Have you noticed that? With the passage of time, that intolerance I had said earlier, but somewhere that intolerance is there. He told me this, so I have to hit him back, or we have to fight. Even sometimes it happens with us. Miss told this. How can she tell me this? If we go back to our time, we never had to voice up anything against our teacher. But we are facing it even in the home also. Sometimes, children give us back answers. Very spontaneously, they answer us back, because there is somewhere these things, these moral values are disturbing. It does not mean that children should be admitting or accepting anything that they don't feel like. But definitely they have got a voice, they have got a choice. But the way they are voicing it up, it is disturbing, isn't it? So these are something that we have to take it as a challenge, and we have to take it. Yes, they don't realize it. Yes, this is also thing. Why, sometimes children, they don't realize that they are doing something wrong, because it's a tendency of believing that adolescent psychology, that whatever we are doing it right. We are absolutely right. And our adults, purane zamane ke hai, they are all old cultures, they are not smart enough to handle us. These are something that is quite disturbing. It, yes, old school, yes, definitely old school culture. Maybe it was something not we have it here, but code of conduct definitely was there, isn't it? So these are some factors, it is not only disturbing me, it might be it is disturbing, not might, it is disturbing each and everyone who is in this teaching profession. Now see, whatever we are here, whatever the reason we are here for today, definitely one common thing we all are having is that we all are belonging to this domain of teaching. So when we are dealing with teaching, the learning outcomes comes to of primary importance. We have to give a primary importance to the learning outcome, because these pedagogical challenges is something that have to be taken up very, very seriously. Now, why am I talking of learning outcomes? See, whenever you are in a classroom, your main motive or the main purpose of being in the classroom is to teach. The academics, the syllabus that has been prescribed, that has to be given utmost time. If you are having a 40 minutes class or 45 minutes of class, excluding the 5 minutes time, full 40 minutes you are going to engage to the academics, the pedagogy, because the learning outcome is very, very important, and that is the reason we are here for. If your learning outcome is not fulfilled, you are not a successful teacher. You get a zero in spite of being an excellent, in spite of having an excellent academic qualification certificate. But if you cannot reach the heart of your children, if the pedagogy is not fulfilled, the challenges are not fulfilled, you cannot call yourself as a successful teacher. You might be in the wrong profession, right? So we have our challenges, the syllabus, the content that has to be delivered in, and within that these contents, we have to add values to it. For example, if you give a homework or an assignment, the child has to finish that assignment within the deadline that has been prescribed. But if the child is not able to do that, he cannot go and take help from others or copy from others. It's a very small example, but you can definitely correlate how the pedagogical challenges and the values can be collaborated with each other, isn't it? Because without values, there's no learning. So that is describing the nature and sources of values. See, values, that ethical values, what is right, what is wrong, to teach the children through the lesson that we are doing is very, very important. Why? Because values are the priorities individuals and societies attach to certain belief, experience, objects in deciding how they shall live and what they shall treasure. Because what you carry with yourself are the values, isn't it? And knowing what you are doing. See, this is something that is very, very important. Now, here we need to identify the teaching domain, right? And we have to inculcate the values along to it. Now, see, we know all these three teaching domains. One is the cognitive, the affective, and dispositional. That means we all know, that 3H formula, the head, the heart, and the hands. So that means cognitive domain is the knowledge that is being imparted. Effective, how effectively, how do you imbibe that knowledge, and disposition is how you deliver or use it in your daily life. So these are the three things. We use it for any content or any teaching procedure, isn't it? Even this is the main thing that Bloom's taxonomy is completely based on. I don't want to go into that, but these are the three: the cognitive and the affective and the dispositional domain. So what is the teacher's task here? See, teacher in the classroom, we are all facilitators, right? That means what we are doing, we are facilitating or delivering the curriculum that has been prescribed to us among our children, isn't it? So within the domain of the classroom, The learning outcome depends on how well you deliver the content, how well the children understand. So teacher's task here is, what are we to do that? See, books are there. The books have got the written content. The websites are there that is teeming with all the information that they require. So what are we to do here? See, we are here to facilitate the medium of education, or the medium of the content that is here, in a very effective way. So what we enhancing capacities means not only the learning capacities, the learning skills, as well as the moral value. Now teachers' hope is to encourage commitments. Definitely, if you encourage somebody to do good, you can definitely inculcate moral values or true values within the children. For example, I tell you that in a classroom, if somebody is doing the work regularly at a regular basis, or somebody has done something very excellent and many of them haven't done that, okay, instead of telling though that you haven't done this, if we praise the child that who has done excellent, the others will also follow that. It's a very small appraisal. It does not mean that you have to give a prize or a trophy or something like that. Wow, it's excellent. If you say that, to hear that particular word, others will be also feeling that, because every child, needs importance within the class. And it is our responsibility how we do that. So if you encourage this, encourage your class in a positive way, obviously 50% good values you have already given. Now, there's a critical affiliation. That means these are something that we need to stick to also, that right to know nature and source of values. That is also very, very, and values are also not something that is permanent. Values are something related to a particular situation. Values may be circumstantial. Okay, so it might change from place to place. Okay, sometimes when being quiet, silence may be considered to be a very good thing, but sometimes when you are silent may be considered as a bad thing. For example, if you have to speak for a truth, that time if you are quiet, that means you are not supporting the truth, but somehow you are following the bad or the illegal part, where you are not, if you are quiet that way. But sometime when you are quiet to bring down violence or an argument, definitely that silence is something very, very important. Sometimes we say na ki that silence is gold, isn't it? So need to develop empathy. That empathy part, is somewhere missing in our societies these days. I do feel it that way. Sympathetic. Nobody is sympathetic. Every time, if you are just sticking to the discrete data, you are doing things mechanically. It does not touch the heart, right? Agreed or not? Sometimes when you do good, you feel from the heart. But sometimes when you are just doing things mechanically, definitely you will not feel that empathy. And that evaluating skill does not mean that content assessment skill, but you need to evaluate a person. For example, we are judging a child. Okay, a child may be aggressive at a particular time due to some reason. Okay, but judgmentally, if we say that he's a very aggressive child, he does this always, that means what? We are lacking empathy and we are lacking evaluating skill. Whenever we give a judgment, whenever we come to a final decision, we clarify somebody's habit, we need to evaluate the condition that provoked the particular person to do this, isn't it? So that means we have to think with our heart sometimes, It is not always the cognitive, the right and wrong part, but sometimes we have to feel it from the heart, deal it with empathy, and evaluate very, very skillfully. Now, be encouraged to commit to worthy values. Definitely. What is right is always right. And one thing, sometimes It is always in the, it is also there in the Bhagavad Gita that an useful lie is always better than an harmful truth. So that way, it does not mean that we have to be, we have to lie on occasions. No, but sometimes, for example, a small children a small child has made a project work, and definitely, that this is not up to the mark. We know that this is not something that is right. Instead of telling that particular child that you have done it wrong, we can tell it in a different way that it's good, but you should make a little amendment. Next time when you do it this way. So the child will feel happy. And if you give respect, you see, you get it back. Because respect is not something that you can enforce on somebody, but respect is something that you have to earn it, right? So that is the thing we should be following. So we should be encouraged to commit to the worthy values. Now, I told you how we can apply the complementary strategies, cross curriculum implication on every learning areas. So every learning area, cross curriculum, I said, whenever we are doing things, we have to see, we have to inculcate the sense of good and sense of bad. For example, in the examination hall, sometimes we need to be very strict. In the examination hall, we cannot encourage malpractices like cheating, asking, like that, whatever is the rule followed within the examination hall. But if somebody is sick, if somebody is not able to write, we can definitely help ourselves. But what is wrong and what is right has to be properly justified, isn't it? So values discourses a learning area in its own right. Definitely, what is valuable, what is of good value, what is of a positive thing, that has to, for example, I told the example of an examination hall. So whenever you are in an examination hall, rules, discipline, decorum, whatever is there should be followed as per the laws. And if we follow this, naturally, the child would be understanding that this is the rule and this has to be followed. So somewhere, whenever the rules are to be implemented, when the rules are taken into action, values will automatically come in the child that this is wrong. See, no child will think that cheating in the examination hall is a good one. Why? Because it is, we have made them understand that this is not something that is recommended in your behavior. So that behavioral thing, what strategy, what do you want from the child, be very frank, very discreet, and very clear, so that he understands that sometime when you are straightforward, your application of value becomes more clear. Now, what is the cognitive core? Cognitive core is something that is related to knowledge. Okay, so when we are talking of the knowledge, we continuously come into this curriculum, our syllabus, whatever, our lesson plan. These are all the cognitive core. And how do we touch the core? That means it has to go here. The child should understand, because I said in the earlier slide also that whenever we are discussing about values, the children should be following the value in a proper way. So exploring the underlying belief system to make the child believe. For example, every child knows that whenever they are going queuing for the assembly, they should be quiet. No pushing each other. They need to be standing and they have to take one hand distance. It is something, see, discipline. You have enforced that. You have enforced that and they are following that. That means whatever is applicable, whatever is taken, that they have already understood that. So cross curriculum, when we are going through our syllabus along the courses, implication for every learning area is very, very important. Now, study of life stances, a learning area in its own right. Definitely. That means what? We learn from life. Life is the biggest teacher. So sometimes when things goes wrong, there is definitely time when we need to rectify. So that has to be inculcated in a natural way in a child. Because one fine morning you cannot just teaching a child, sir, this is the right way and this is the wrong way. If you are going this, you will be in the wrong line. You cannot teach it that way. It is through your curriculum, through your daily exercises, through the daily routine, whatever you follow in your classroom, you can inculcate the positive values. And when values are learned, children have the natural process. See, stealing is something that is bad. We had those Panchatantra, the Jatakas. What are they? Fables, Bishop's fables. What are those? Those are stories with a moral line. That means early childhood learning includes these things in the earlier classes. We shouldn't be lying. If now that the fox, the blue fox story, we all remember, isn't it? So what happened? Why that particular fox got killed? Then we have another story, that one shepherd who used to shout that the tiger is coming. Now someday, moral stories, yes. Now someday, when truly the tiger came, nobody helped him. Why? Because he had already lied in the first instance, isn't it? So this is how the values are inculcated among the children through normal curriculum. Now we need to clarify. If we are talking of values, we need to clarify certain areas that now we see when we are in a classroom, we have got a segregate community of children coming from different cultural background, children with different abilities, learning abilities. Okay, so and children having different types of behavior. See, behavior also, you cannot generalize a behavior that in my class, all children will be reacting to a particular situation in a particular way. So these things we have to keep in account when we are planning something. See, not to develop a totalistic account to which all participants would be expected to conform, but a minimalistic set of agreement on which to base common action in the wider educational arena. So what happens, we should be thinking it in that way that whenever we are enforcing any rule, we are enforcing any sort of changes in the curriculum, whether it is a positive way, whether it should be a strict way, you cannot have 100% achievement. Why? Because values are real, children are real, and the consequences are real, so results will vary. So things are different for everybody. Everybody's learning capacity is also, so that time you may not you have to take them into account that these things should be coming out in a very different way. So you have to accept that challenges. Now when we are talking of values, there are so many values that transcending the public and the private dichotomy. What is dichotomy? Two-way. You can have a general, public values are something different, and the private values are completely different. For example, we take off respecting the elders. Respecting the elders, it comes in the private way. And if you take it, we respect the public property. We don't vandalize them. So these are also values. You go to a monument and you scribble it with your pen and write that heart shape and everything. What those rubbish, they are all vandalizing. Even the Qutub Minar last year I went and it was that way. I felt so bad about it because these are a heritage. Again, sticking to the roots, isn't it? So that is the private value and the public value. This dichotomy has to be clearly inculcated among the children. So we come to the next part of the value education, where we'll be discussing what are the various types of values. Now here you see, as a twig is bent, so the tree will grow. William Wordsworth. We have got a Sanskrit version of this also. Vidya dadati vinayam. Yes? Do you agree with it? Yes? Do you agree? Vidya dadati vinayam, or as a twig is bent, so the tree will grow. That means what? If you bow down, it does not mean that you are a weak person. It is your values that makes you bow down, and it is your values that makes you a great human being, isn't it? So this is something, is one root cause of trouble in the society, as well as in our profession, in our workplace, as well as in the classroom. See, if we consider I, the first person singular, to be very superior, the first person singular is I. Those of you from the English background will know I, that is first person singular. So we consider I. If we give much importance to I, we are the one, we are the superior one. How can we bow down? But that makes a difference between an educated and an uneducated individual, isn't it? Now see, here again I want to see that education and literacy, they are also two different ways, right? A person who can read and write is called a literate person, and we have educated illiterates also. You see them in the when queuing for any tickets or anything. The people who consider themselves physically strong, or they are coming from an affluent background, they'll be thinking that I am the boss and I am the one to come here, isn't it? That tea advertisement, Tata tea, have you seen? Hum mantri ke aadmi hai. Have you gone through it? So that is also something, why that arrogancy, that attitude that I am something very superior, is the root cause of every trouble that is going on. Sometimes children think, हाँ हम मेरे सामने आगे कुछ नहीं है. Sometimes teachers also we think that I am this one, and how come these small children tell me this? How dare they? But here we make a mistake. As adults, as educated, we sometimes should know when to subjugate. Subjugating is not that you have to accept what is not touching your heart. Mentally, if you find that this is wrong, we cannot go to it, right? Yes, somebody said you don't know who my father is. Definitely, these are something, these are the main root causes of all the tensions that is happening in the classroom. So sometimes we need to bend down. So if we bend down, we grow as a human being, and that is more important than to stand still, right? Now see here, values are caught rather than taught. So can somebody please tell me what is caught here? What is caught? Yes, anybody can tell me. Please, I would like to hear from you all. You can use a chat, but values are caught rather than taught. Caught means what? Here. Uh, yes. Absorb. Yes. Imbibed. Yes, definitely. Values are imbibed. Here the word caught means imbibe, implement. It should be inculcated, right? Definitely. Yes, yes. Learn. This is also a correct answer. Thank you so much. Okay, for just being so active. So values are caught rather than taught. That means what? The good values has to be inculcated. We cannot teach somebody, right? We can say that child, this is good, that is bad. Even in our workplace also, within see, sometimes we have confusions in the teacher staff room also. So staff room is also within the domain of the school. Values are required to that also. Now one thing, among adults, if we talk of teachers, gossiping. It is also something very, very bad. If you gossip about somebody, definitely you create a bad name of that particular person without being into their shoes, isn't it? For example, XYZ telling about some other person that would never have met also, don't even know that person also. So gossiping is definitely a very, very bad thing. We shouldn't be doing that, isn't it? So that is also one values that we have to take to it. Righteousness is definitely something that we should have it within ourselves. Yes, this reduces their value. Definitely, person, if he gossips, their value is depreciated. Now, what is the true definition? See, value means primarily to price, esteem, to appraise, and to estimate. It means the act of achieving something. Definitely we have achieved. Values are something that you should be treasuring it, okay, possessing it, holding it, and also the act of passing judgment upon the nature and the amount of values as compared with something else. It is by John Dewey. Definitely we cannot be judgmental, isn't it? Now if the action was good or if the action was bad, definitely somebody has to say that. And what is the judging parameters? See, there are some hidden, not written. No, nowhere it is written that this is of a good value, this is of a bad value, isn't it? It is again the cognitive core that has to understand, realize, differentiate, and bring into the behavior that what is good and what is bad. Now, learning about self and wisdom of life. This is, see, our life itself is a true teacher. How do we learn from life? It is the experience. It is the experience definitely that proves ourselves to be good or a bad, isn't it? Now see, somebody traveling without a ticket. He was caught, harassed, penalized. So definitely he would have, why this is done? To teach that particular person a lesson that whatever you are doing, this is not correct, isn't it? So that means the person learns from the experience and the wisdom. If you have the proper wisdom, you will have the proper power to judge what is good and what is bad. Now, value reflects one person's attitude, judgment, decision, and choice, behavior, relationship, dreams, and vision. They influence our thought, feelings, and action. Definitely, these are the things. Now, when we talk of relationship, now how is this relationship? For example, we talk of interpersonal relationship. Now, when does this interpersonal relationship come into action? Two teachers, teacher, student, student, student. So the way we behave. See, some children have make lot of friends. Some teachers are very popular. Others may become jealous. Why is she so popular? Now, instead of being jealous, find out the point that what is the positive part in it. What is the positive part in he or positive part the other person is having, so that others are liking it. That means something that is nice, it's definitely liked by others. So these are the things, it is one person's attitude that makes the thing, the values, positive values and negative. See, values reflects one person's attitude, judgment and decision, the way you react. If you have got a fighting tendency, you fight with your neighbors, you fight with your colleagues, that means you disturb the interpersonal relationship there, isn't it? So these are something. Now, value education means inculcating. See, we had already discussed earlier also. Value education means inculcating in the children the sense of humanism. This is something very, very important, because humanism makes a person a human. Human being does not mean a structure with two hands, two legs, two eyes, one nose, isn't it? So humanism is the quality that clarifies a human with a valued person whom you are. It actually clarifies the inner person who you are, isn't it? So that is actually, yes, somebody just said it is the inner beauty. Definitely, beauty does not mean the physical beauty, the physical appearance that you get it. It is the values that makes the person beautiful. See, if we go to again the story of Ramayana, Ravan had 10 heads, right? And Lord Rama had only one. But it is the values. With that 10 head also, he couldn't make an impression in the heart of the readers. Whenever we hear, when we read about Ramayana, the story of Ramayana, it is only the Ravana that has to get killed. Why? Because his behavior, his role that he had played is not appropriate. It is not society appropriate rule. So the humanism are the qualities that clarifies you. It is the beauty that comes from within, a deep concern for the well-being of the others. See, if you at first only I said, if you respect others, respect will come back to you. The same thing, if you are thinking of the well-being of the others, definitely others will also be concerned of you. I told you some teachers who are very much popular, that means they are concerned about the others. Others are also concerned about him or her. Same thing with the children. Why are children? See, who are leaders, class leaders? Sometimes, we have popular children in the classroom. Now, have we found out that what is the thing that made the child popular? Maybe his helpful attitude. Maybe he's friendly with the others. Maybe he's concerned for the others. So these are some positive qualities. You cannot teach them. Again, I tell you, you cannot teach them, but these are some values that has to be inculcated. When see, children are like saplings, the way you plant them, the way you nurture them, you get a tree like that. In Hindi, we have a saying, boya tha babul ka ped, and who will complete that? Who will complete this? Now, there's also another thing. So, you reap what you sow, isn't it? That means what you plant, you get the other one. Yes, I'm not done yet. What I said, boya tha babul ka ped, who will complete the doha, aam kahan se ho? Yes. So that means what? What you have inculcated in the childhood, the child will take up the same thing and will be exhibiting that particular behavior in the adulthood. So if you pamper the child, if you agree to what he is telling, even if when we are wrong, when the particular child is wrong, definitely he'll imbibe all that, become a bossy, develop a bossy nature, and definitely he will, instead of humanism, he'll be humane, isn't it? So that means these are the things that has to be inculcated in the children. Now, why do we need this? See, values can be taught at the house also. Sole responsibility, let us give the entire blame, entire responsibility on the parents. It is the responsibility of the parent to check the value of their child, because at the end of the day, the child is theirs. Do you agree or not? Definitely it is a no, because it is our responsibility. Whenever the child is in our school or studying in our classroom, that time it is our sole responsibility. And as adults, as mentors, as facilitators, it is our responsibility to nurture the child wherever required in a very proper way. So values allows the individual to interact harmoniously with others, isn't it? So the harmonious interaction definitely is required. So that is the reason we need the values to it. Value guides our behavior. That is a part of the identity of an individual. Definitely, our behavior, if we are guided by the values, definitely our identity shows that how we are, isn't it? Now they show us how to behave and how not to behave. See, we teach these things in the classroom. Whenever the children are queuing, going out for a class, the transition phase, one class has ended and the child needs to go to the art room, or the child needs to we teach them now that they should take one, small children, they should take one hand distance, they shouldn't be pushing each other, they should be fighting each other, they shouldn't be running in the corridor. So these are some things, you teach them how to behave. So when you are teaching them how to behave in the junior classes, that value gets inculcated within. That means they absorb the value within, and when they, by the time they go to the higher classes, they know what is the protocol, what they should do and what they shouldn't be doing. So when we are faced with desires of impulse, whether we are alone or with others, see, value, private value, public value, I said some values are there, we are facing it in our private life, personal level, as well as in the public also. So they are like a compass that help us behave consistently regardlessly of the situation. They are the guiding factor. You know what a compass is? The mariner compass. You heard of it? What does the mariner's compass do? They show the direction. That means values can be of a guiding factor. Values guides our actions and determine us what is good and what is bad. Now, when we classify the value, it can be biological value, intrinsic value, and instrumental value, right? So, biological value is something, for example, you're hungry, you want to eat. But if you are hungry, you just cannot go and grab off something to eat from any other's plate. Do we do that? No, we don't do it. We are all civilized people. Even if we are hungry, we should be waiting for our turn, or we should be waiting for it to be served in the plate, isn't it? Now, sometimes, values, that is something I just gave you an example of biological value. That means it depends on the needs and desire. Okay. Now, intrinsic, that is the inbuilt. You have inbuilt some values, isn't it? And that other one is instrumental, that helps you to deal with it. Now, see, biological value, as I said, it is the instinct. Now, intrinsic is the value that reflected in idealism. And what is instrumental? The principle of utility is the guiding factor. That means we are guided by the values. Okay. So now, what are the various types of values? We have aesthetic value, we have personal value, we have social value, we have moral value, spiritual, behavioral, and material value. So these are the different ways. Now, what are the values? See, if we take to the Indian values again, connecting to the root, it is the truth, the beauty, the goodness, the spirituality, simplicity, tolerance, pursuit of truth, and non-violence. Definitely non-violence is always approved by us, accepted by us, in contrast to the violence. The constitutional value, that is the we say, see, democracy, we should value that. Socialism, we should value that. Secularism, see, secularism is something, that is in a great turmoil. I don't want to discuss politics out here, but somewhere, it is getting a little disturbed. You know what I mean, isn't it? And equality, equality means we have to respect the equality among the children, among the citizen of our country, isn't it? So that is the constitutional value that is given to each and every one of us by the Indian Constitution. Now, what are the universal value? If we take it in a different level, truth, righteous conduct, non-violence, love, world peace, human right, and universal brotherhood. Now, see, if we just have it's just a schematic pyramid, knowledge, that means values. You appreciate the true value. You discrimination means you differentiate what is good. Here, discrimination is dividing the bad and the good, and action with effort. We need to effort for a positive value, and spontaneous manifestation means it is already within the individual. Now, methods and technique of value education. See, there are two. One is a direct approach and indirect approach. Direct, you just form a rule. You tell the child what is right, what is bad. Then indirect approach through stories, tales. Nowadays we have that dramatization. Okay. Then art infusion, curricular and co-curricular approaches also, an integrated approach. Integrated approaches here, we mix them together. Art integration, sports integration, role of drama and theaters. It is also in the 21st century skills also. So we can all make together, make up a drama, stories, enact it in a form, a small group discussions. So that will be helpful in giving the true values to the children. Now, what are the various programs for developing values? See, we have a community prayer. We pray together. Again, the belongingness is also of a great value. Health and cleanliness program. So when we are having with the health and cleanliness program, that is also something, how to stay healthy. Cleanliness is next to godliness. That is also something, you have to be clean and neat, isn't it? So that is also a very valuable thing. Socially useful, productive work. It is the SUPW work. Then special classroom situations. We can have special classrooms for that, moral science classes, moral education for the classes, where these things are taught to the children through stories, through integrated syllabus. Okay, cultural and recreational activity, definitely that is also there. Citizenship training. See, nowadays we have that community outreach program. So this can be taken under that, and social service program. So these are something, when you do good to others, you feel from within. So students can be taken on for a social service program. For example, giving clothes to some people who do not have the that much, that can be done. Serving food also. Sometimes we take up programs that way, isn't it? So these are something where you can train the children. Then not only distribution, that wastage of food is a crime, that has to be taught to the children also. So these were some of the facts and figures, that I tried to focus on and share with you. And finally, we have come to the end of the session. So I just tried to share with you. So I hope you had something to take away from my session, and just let me know how do you like the session, and do you have any question, you can just ask me.
Thank you, ma'am. Such a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If anybody has a doubt, can just ask me. Any queries if you have? Thank you so much. I'm really overwhelmed seeing the chat box with such beautiful comments, and you, every one of you, have been so wonderful. So actively you have participated, and your activation actually motivates me to carry on with it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, ma'am.